Welcome to the fourth video of calculating the parameter of two-dimensional objects that include circles. As you can see here, and as I explained in the previous video, we are calculating the parameter of this shape. So if you analyze this shape, we have two big semicircles. So the length of this arc is actually equal to the length of this arc. If I calculate 1, then I must multiply the answer by 2. And I have two typical small semicircles. So if I calculate the length of this arc, this would be equal to the length of this arc. So if I find the final answer of 1, I multiply it by 2 and then I add all the sides, or I add the length of all arcs to close the shape. Let's start with the big semicircle, and let's remind ourselves that a semicircle is actually half of a circle. So the radius of the big circle is not 12, it's 12 over 2, because the radius is the distance from the center of the circle or of the semicircle to the circumference, the distance from the center to the circumference. But 12, it represents the diameter, which is the distance from the circumference to the circumference passing through the center of the semicircle. Accordingly, the radius is half of 12, which will brings it down to 6 centimeters of a length. Since we calculated the radius, we must write the general formula of finding the length of the arc in a semicircle, which is half of 2 pi r. And let me remind you once again, the half, actually, if you look at the angle that is opposite to the arc in a semicircle, it's 180. So 180 over 360 of 2 pi r. And if you simplify the 180 over 360, it will be 1 over 2 of 2 pi r. Now, let's substitute r, which is 6, in the general formula. And it will be half times 2 times pi times 6 as following. And if you write the answer in terms of pi, half times 2, it's 1. 1 times 6 is 6, so it's 6 pi centimeter. And the length of the arc, or the circumference of a semicircle, is calculated in centimeter or meter or millimeter, depending on the question. Now write the answer as a decimal, and the answer correct to 3 significant figures is 18.8. We're not done yet. We must calculate, or we must follow the exact same steps in calculating the length of the arc in the small semicircle as following. So the semicircle, once again, is half of a circle. The radius in here is the diameter over 2, or half of the diameter, which is half of 4. So the radius of the small semicircle is actually 2 centimeters. Write down the general formula of finding the length of an arc in a semicircle, which is half of 2 pi r. Substitute the value of r, which is 2, in this general formula. So it's going to be half times 2 times pi times 2. Now write the answer in terms of pi. Half times 2 is 1, and 1 times 2 is 2 pi centimeter, the length of this small arc. The answer as a decimal is 6.28 centimeter, and this is correct to 3 significant figures. Before we actually put the or calculate the parameter, I would like here to explain, as we did in the previous videos. Let's say that this is my starting point in here, and if I go zzz, the length of this arc is 2 pi. And remember, the parameter is adding all sides to close the shape. Imagine that you're building, that you have this piece of land and you're building a fence all around the boundaries of your land. And then you carry on from here. The length of this arc is 6 pi. So the length of this arc is 2 pi. And the length of this arc is 6 pi. And then you carry on until you go back to the starting point. So plus 2 pi plus and back to the starting point. And this is the parameter. If you simplify this, 2 plus 6 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. And 10 plus 6, this is 16 pi. And remember, it's centimeter. And this is the parameter, which is equal to 16 times pi. That's how you insert it in the calculator. Or 3.142 times 16. So this is how we calculate the parameter. And let's get back to the presentation here. Remember that the parameter of the shape or of any shape is actually adding the lengths of all sides. And we have here all sides are arcs. So 6 pi plus 2 pi, just as we explained earlier, plus 6 pi plus 2 pi is actually the parameter. Another way to write it, we say that we have two arcs, two big arcs with the exact same length. So we can say 2 times 6 pi plus we have two small arcs with the exact same length plus 2 in brackets 2 pi. We write it as following. This will come down to 16 pi centimeter. And this is the answer in terms of pi. And if you insert this in the calculator, it will bring it down to 50.3. You stop at the 2, look at the right. 6 is going to bring 2 up to 3. So 50.3 centimeter is the answer, correct to 3 significant figures. I would like you to think of this question on your own, and please try to watch the video again if you struggle with any of the steps. And let me give you a hint here. As you can see, you're going to ignore the triangle in the middle when you calculate the parameter. You only consider it if you're calculating the area of this shape. But remember, the parameter is adding all sides to close the shape. So if you start here, this is one arc, 2 arcs, 3 arcs, and they are typical. So if you calculate the length of one arc, you just have to multiply the length of one arc by 3 to calculate the total parameter of the shape. One more thing that I would like to drive your attention to, the radius of this semicircle is not 2. It's half of the 2. So the radius is equal to 1. This will make it easy for you to calculate the length of the arc, which is half of 2 pi r, which is equal to half times 2 times pi times 1. And then you multiply the final answer by 3 and you will be able to calculate the parameter of this shape. Thank you so much for watching, sharing the link of this video, and subscribing to my YouTube channel.